All right, now that our Ukrainian Bible scholar has come back, we'll get started. Who can push some buttons back there in the back and turn this thing on back there, if you don't mind? I can speak loud enough for you guys to hear. It's the folks at home that thank y'all very much for helping out with that. So good to see you. So many smart people in class today. Really helps me when I look out. And you know, helps me in my preparation, because I think, all right, Jeff, you need to do the research and say this in the right way, because there are some folks out there that they're going to know. They're going to know if you don't. You know, sometimes I'll hear a guest speaker speak, and he'll present something in a way, maybe I've had the thought, but it'll be a way that I've never really looked at something. And I hope that we all can do that for each other, that we can share what wisdom we have. And I can look at some verses ahead of time, and I can share something, and maybe you'll sit there and think, well, that looks right, that sounds right. I never really thought of it that way, but my life's blessed, my life's better. And so, you know, kind of, if you would approach this class that way, like I'm going to approach Danny Pettis's lesson Wednesday night that way. I'm going to come with an empty bucket. I'm not just going to be completely greedy, but I'm going to expect Danny to kind of fill that bucket up with some good. Maybe I can add something to it with my own thoughts and study and working together on this. We can be more like what God wants us to be. But every class, every lesson, every prayer, every scripture reading, every conversation is an opportunity for me to learn something, opportunity for you to learn something. And that's, you know, one of the points I tried to make in the lesson this morning as you're going over to the Gospel of Matthew now. Humility is a great quality to have. And it's kind of ironic to say humility and great in the same sentence, because when you think of humility, you think of the opposite of great. But we're not ascending to greatness, we're descending to greatness. And we're acknowledging that maybe I don't know everything. Maybe there is something that person can teach me. Maybe there is some growing that needs to happen in my heart, in my life. And I need to open the Bible every single time I open the Bible with an attitude of expectancy. That I'm expecting to see something that's gonna help me in my faith, help me in my walk, help me to help other people, help my attitude to be better. And these questions, we're looking at questions and answers in our Bible in this class. Been doing that for a while now. Going to keep on doing it for a while. I'm assuming whenever we get us a new preacher, that he may have the privilege of teaching this class. If I'm around, I still might want to fight him for it, because I enjoy sharing with y'all during this time. But I cherish this. I saw a line in a movie, heard a line in a movie years ago. Somebody said, this is one of these old movies, you know, that you can watch. He said, I put a prize by it. I put a prize by it, and I put a prize by this. I put a prize by being able to share with us some of these interesting questions and answers that we find in our Bible. And Jesus he gets right down to cases, as we say. When you come over to about Matthew 11 and 12, it's not that Jesus gets rude with people, but his attitude. Have you ever just get to a point where you just kind of have enough of it? You're just tired of the garbage, tired of the criticism, tired of the negative, tired of whatever it is, sick and tired of being sick and tired, whatever it is. And then you talk about attitude, you kind of get a hint of that maybe in your demeanor and your tone with people. Maybe it's my imagination, but I'm sensing a change of tone here with Jesus, where he's getting a little bit more aggressive with the people that are going to be killing him. And I marvel they didn't strike him down. I marvel at his patience with them. And there's a message in that for us, isn't there? You know, if God can be patient with these people, Jesus can be patient with people who are going to be whipping him, going to be calling for his, not just death, his painful death, then how much more can we be patient with each other, tolerant and all? But I'm noticing just a little a sea change here. Maybe you detect it with me a little bit. I'm thinking about, let's see, where do we want to launch into this at? Let's go where they were wanting to cause trouble in Matthew 12. I guess we could just but the heading of all this is, your good day will spoil somebody else's mood. It's just a shame. There's something I see goes around social media sometimes. Some people post something like they say, pay attention to who's not applauding when good things happen to you. And I understand the sentiment behind that, but I really don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. You know, I just want to, something good happens, I just want to enjoy it. And if others want to enjoy it with me, that's a bonus. You know, why let those who can't rejoice with those rejoice gain any kind of victory? And now we see this in the life of Jesus. He's doing good. He's helping people. And the better he does for others, the more aggravated his enemies become. So it's not about him, it's about them and their heart. Same with people that might be agitated with you. Maybe the issue's not you. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something going on with them. So here it is, Matthew 12, verse 1. At that time, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath, which is another way of saying he went through the grocery store. Was there a grocery store? It's where they get their food. Now, Sabbath day, there were some rules. But who made the rules? Jesus. Jesus made the rules. His Father made the rules. And his disciples were hungry. They had the audacity to be hungry and began to pluck heads of grain and to eat. You ever done that? You ever been out quail hunting through a soybean field, just bend down and eat some of it? It's just really good. Surprise you. That's kind of what they're doing. They're not quail hunting, but they're walking through soybean field, wheat field, and it's not bread yet, but it's pre-bread, and that's pretty good. When you're hungry, it probably tastes even better. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him, "Look, tattletales, your disciples are doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath." Doesn't tell a lot about them. What are they doing? They're spies. They're not. Some people followed Jesus to learn from him, to be saved by him. Other people followed him to catch him doing something wrong, in their opinion, or his disciples doing something wrong. They're tired of the positive thinking. They're tired of the positive attitude. They're tired of the positive news coming out of Christ's camp. And it's making them look bad. Jesus doing all this good, what are you doing? By comparison, not much. Not much. Kind of like, you know, somebody at work, they're doing so good, such a great attitude. By comparison, kind of makes us look not so great. And so there might be a human tendency to want to look for inconsistencies in that person. Well, they're just doing it because you're watching. They're just doing it because, you know, why attack? Why not just praise? Why not just learn from the high-achieving people God's putting? Maybe that's the reason they're in our path. But there's Pharisees then. There's Pharisees now. And they're, you know, if you look for weeds, you know what you're going to find. But he said to them, and here's the question, have you not read what David did when he was hungry? He and those who were with him, how he entered the house of God and ate showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, nor for those who were with him, but only for the priest. So when he invokes the name David, what he's doing, he's talking about their hero. Your hero did it. Now what are you going to say about my disciples? If it's okay for David, and David, if talking about the law, he transgressed it a whole lot more than these disciples did, if they actually did. Jesus, he could make unlawful lawful because he was the lawgiver. A lot of men in this house right now, and you're the kind of the man of the house, which what? I mean, you make the rules. Which what else does that mean? You can change the rules. Who you think you are? I'm the rule maker. I'm also the rule changer. Who's Jesus? Jesus makes the rules. He said that my word shall judge you in the last day. That means pay attention to his words, not what the Pharisees say about his words. And they don't like it. They don't like being embarrassed. But I like the psychology here of Jesus. He's saying, the greatest person in Jewish history to these Pharisees, that was David. And he's invoking David. He said, what do you say about David? If my disciples are wrong, are you prepared to stand up here before all these people that love David and say David was wrong? And they weren't willing to do that. There's a theme going on here that I want to take it in a positive direction now, because this can kind of be construed as negative, right? And it can be complicated. I'll say that. But aren't some laws more important than other laws? For example, I talked about driving to the men's prayer breakfast yesterday, driving the enforced speed limit. You know what that means, what some of you do. Not defending it, I'm just explaining. So there's a law, go 45, go 55. There's also a law, don't kill. Are we going to say that both laws are the same? No. And we're not going to use that argument to say, well, we can take one law less seriously than another. All laws matter, all laws, like with the laws of God. Are there some laws, even from God, that are more important than other laws? That seems to be what Jesus is stressing here. He adds on to the point, verse 5, or have you not read in the law? So he's talking about two of their gods, really, two of their idols. One is David, one is the law. It's a shame, really. They worship the law more than the lawgiver. Have you not read in the law that on the Sabbath the priest, so he's talking about David, talking about the law, they're talking about the priest. Who are the priests? The priests were the best buddies. They're the running buddies. They were the clique of the Pharisees. And that's one of the reasons the Pharisees had so much power. It's one of the reasons the priest has so much power. Because they were, to use a Brutanism, they were in cahoots with each other. You tell me all the times you read in your Bible of a Pharisee crossing a priest or a priest crossing a Pharisee. That rarely, if ever, happened, because that was their power base. So Jesus, you notice the brilliance of Jesus. He talked about David, talked about the law, then talked about their cousins, the priest. Have you not read in the law on the Sabbath, the priest in the temple, their holy place, profane the Sabbath and are blameless? Yet I say to you that in this place there is one greater than the temple. But if you had known what this means, I desire mercy and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned. Notice he calls them guiltless. For the Son of Man, who I am, is Lord even of the Sabbath. He might as well just said to him, y'all go ahead and nail me to the cross. Because that's the effect. That's the rage that would have incited him. We'll keep going through this and you'll see that in just a moment. But he's saying here, again, this is the overarching theme of this. Make sure that you value what I value, who I value. Human life, eternal life is what Christ is valuing. It's okay for these men to not starve themselves to death. It was okay for David and his people to eat something. It was okay for those priests to eat something. They're missing the big picture there. And we can focus so much on the law that we neglect to focus on the underneath love that prompted the law to come into existence. I can obey the law to worship and neglect the law to take care of my wife. I can obey the law to worship. I can neglect the law to help that man in the ditch on the way to the church building. Yes, sir.
The Pharisees really are the ones changing the law here. They
Mm-hmm.
made it stricter that a man walking through a field grubbing corn in his hand
Mm-hmm.
is the same as taking a wagon load of corn and working the threshing floor
Mm-hmm.
all day long.
Yeah.
They've changed the law and made it stricter on people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Jesus has the authority to change it. He's the lawgiver, but he loses his patience with people who have worn it on their sleeves and enforcing stricter law on, for example, when he lost his patience with them in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Here people are bringing their sacrifice and they're taking advantage of it. And he sees people who are trying to worship and these religious leaders taking advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
say, well,
Mm-hmm.
your sacrifice is not
Mm-hmm.
acceptable. You'll have to buy this from us. He really loses his patience with the religious leaders.
Yeah. Excellent. If anybody ever tries to give you a Bible commentary written by William Barclay, take it. William Barclay was not a member of the church, so some of the things he writes are embarrassingly wrong, especially when it comes to salvation. But one thing I put a value on, put a prize by, is some of the research he's done into the law, into the various layers of the law that the scribes, the Pharisees, the Sadducees added to it that God never put in it, make it cumbersome and impossible to obey. It made Christianity such a, the Pharisees who sought to destroy Christianity actually paved the way for it by their ridiculous laws. And so when the law of Christ came, by comparison to what the Pharisees had turned the law of Moses into, it made the law of Christ so refreshing and so appealing to them. But Barclay, getting back to him, he gives so many examples in his commentaries of what these Pharisees and their clique would do, the layers of just absurdity of the law. For example, I think he's the only one I've ever seen give this example of, all right, so on the Sabbath, for example, you couldn't do certain amount of work and so on. And so what if a wall fell on top of somebody? Well, according to Barclay, the way the Pharisees did it, they said, you can't uncover that person unless it's a Jew. If that's a Gentile that the wall has fallen on, you can't remove those stones on the Sabbath or you'd be in violation of Sabbath. All right, here's the dilemma. Wall falls on you, and we don't know if you're a Jew or a Gentile. You're unconscious. You can't be screaming out who you are. So, according to Barclay, they could uncover you enough to see if you're a Jew or a Gentile. If you're a Jew, they keep uncovering. If you're a Gentile, you'd have to lay in the rubble until the next day. I mean, and he gives so many examples of the absurdity of you're missing the big law. Love your neighbors, you love yourself. Love your neighbor as I have loved you. Pharisees, they missed that day of school. They just missed it. But they were present, front row, on the day when it emphasized, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Jesus' disciples, they did some things. They're rather radical. They got that from who? They got that from Jesus Christ. Notice this next example. They're stacked on top of each other, and they become increasingly more impactful, more powerful, it seems to me. Verse 9, now when he had departed from there, imagine he's glad to get away from that negativity, he went into their synagogue, like from the fire into the frying pan. And behold, there was a man with a withered hand. And they asked him, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? that they might accuse him. It almost looks like they set it up. Hey, I know somebody with their hand. Let's bring him to church, and let's see what Jesus will do. Dan? Yeah. 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 There's a big heart issue here, isn't there? I mean, there's a lot of hard heart, bad heart, a lot of testing for ridiculous reasons. They might accuse him. How about let's help our friend get healed? How about let's help him get better? You know, I've mentioned a lot of names on the prayer list, as we call it, today. Wouldn't we take them to Jesus right in here, right now, if we had that opportunity? No, there'd be no hesitation. Why would we bring them to Jesus? To test him? No, because we love them. We want them to get better. Our hearts are broken because they're hurting. Then he said to them, what man is there among you who has one sheep, and if it falls in the pit on the Sabbath, will not lay hold of it and lift it out? Or how much more value then is a man than a sheep? Talking about questions. They're questioning him foolishly, immaturely, spitefully. He's questioning them in a way to teach them a lesson. You know, when I began the sermon with, what are you thinking? You've been asked that question by someone in a previous context who was trying to get you to learn something, get me to learn something. You've done something, can I use this word? Our little kids aren't in here to be impacted by. You've done something dumb? Anybody? And somebody said, what were you thinking? Right? Well, I wasn't thinking, or I'd have done better. And so Jesus is asking them, think about this. You're getting upset because I'm taking care of sick people. A withered hand, that's a bad problem. Jesus is going to fix the problem. Everybody should be happy about that. And he talks about, you care about a sheep, care about this man more than you care about a sheep, about an animal. Therefore, he said, it is lawful, here's the law. It is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. And isn't that kind of our mandate, do good? There's what do people say? I don't know if I can phrase it right. They say it's never wrong to do right. It's never right to do wrong. Isn't that what Jesus just said? How do you determine the law? Is it good? You can do it. If it's not good, don't do it. Imagine if we just give that test to everything, how much better our lives are going to be. Jesus knows it's good to help this man. There's no law against doing good. We don't want to use that to rationalize doing things that aren't good, but that's the standard. Therefore, it is lawful to do good, not just on the Sabbath, of course, but always. Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand, something that you don't do with a withered hand. And he stretched it out, and it was restored as whole as the other. Everybody's happy, everybody's hugging, we're going to have a feast. Nope. Then the Pharisees went out and plotted against him how they might destroy him. How messed up are they? Talked in the lesson about attitude. How rotten is their attitude that they cannot celebrate something good happening to a person, to a group of people. I've seen it. You've seen it. Some of the best days of your life with your family, church, work, whatever it is. You know, it doesn't seem like that's the day you get that phone call. That's the day you get that message. That's the day devil kind of knocks on the door through somebody. I'm not going to let you enjoy this. I'm going to make you focus on something negative. I'm going to make you focus on something that's terrible. you get my young age, and sometimes you forget who you have said things to. I've not said this to all of you, but I've said this to some of you, and I want to say it to all of you now. One of the best days of my life was a great day in the life of the church down at Mobile, Zaya City. We had a major hurdle getting into a new building, but finally that day had come. We had a big dedication day. A lot of people showed up. Afternoon activities. Chorus from Mobile Christian. Gene Stallings came. I rode with him on an airplane back up to Tuscaloosa after his message. I mean, VP Black was there. Just a Cloud 19 day. Not a Cloud 9, a Cloud 19. Just, you've had days like that. I'm back home late that night. Exhausted, thankful. Can't sleep. Phone rings. Brother Jeff, need to tell you something. No doubt the devil made that phone call. No doubt. You've got that phone call, haven't you? It happens. Happens. The devil does not like it when you're smiling. He doesn't like it when you're thinking good thoughts. That word that Paul used that we looked at this morning when we wrote Church at Corinth, talking about our mind. I thought he used the word captivity. You got to put those thoughts in captivity. You got to put them in a cage. They kind of get out there and get weird if we don't, with the help of God, control our thinking. And that message, those phone calls, you can't heal somebody, but figuratively heal somebody. You bless somebody's life. And the devil's going to, oh, by the way, I don't want you enjoying that. I want you to focus on this thing. I've noticed it, and you've noticed it too. You have victorious days, but also, thankfully, and it kind of keeps us sane. Sometimes it happens in the reverse. When we're having a bad day, we get that good message. We get that good call. We get that. Yesterday, I was thinking about my day. So what was your day like yesterday? My day was pretty good. It had some bad elements. I heard some bad news yesterday from a person or two. That just happens. That comes with the territory of caring about people. But also, you know me, and you know my emotional DNA, right? You know how much I appreciated hearing from that Down syndrome girl. How can I have a bad day when there's somebody on the other side of the world that's got problems? I don't have a single problem. You're looking at a man without a problem. Not really. Not compared to others. And so even, days where you maybe get some bad news, we got to balance that out with all the good that God is continuing to do. I walked in the kitchen yesterday morning at Annex. There are 5 guys in there, going to trouble for somebody like me. Got up extra early. I don't know why they can't figure out a way to cook those eggs all the way done, but that's, am I being a Pharisee with that comment? Everything was good, but is that botulism you can get from eating that sunny side up stuff? But, don't let the Pharisees determine your mood. Let Jesus determine your mood. Let the one who heals the withered hand, And he asked them such a powerful question. He embarrassed them, and now they want to destroy him. What did Lincoln say? When you go into court, he says something like, when the facts are on your side, pound the facts. When the law's on your side, pound the law. When neither the facts or the law on your side, pound the table. That's what the Pharisees were doing. They had neither the law nor the facts on their side. All these conferences, so they pounded the table. They tried to rile up the people, play on their emotion. Jesus is an enemy of the people. That makes sense. He's healing us. He's loving on us. He's forgiving us. He's the enemy of the Roman Empire. Well, that makes sense. He said, pay taxes. Pharisees weren't lining up to say that. Their arguments were so illogical. But what happened? They kept repeating the lie. If you repeat a lie enough times, what does it sound like? The truth. And they got those folks so worked up. Literally, people that have been fed by Jesus are shouting out, crucify him. That's the power of a bad attitude. That's the power of bad people. Now, I want you to see this. I just love reading the Bible because every day I see something that blows my mind. It's a new perspective. Look at this. They've just decided we're going to destroy him. Jesus certainly knew that. Look at 15. But when Jesus knew it, he withdrew from there. He just tried to get away from the toxicity of the situation. Good advice for us. Great multitudes followed him. And you notice what he did? He healed them all. He could, if anybody could have reasoned, the more good I do, the more trouble I'm getting into, the sooner I'm going to be on that cross. So I'm just going to take a break from this. Y'all don't appreciate it? He didn't do that. He did good regardless of what was being done to him, what was being said about him. Y'all have seen that poem? I think they've turned it into a country song anyway. You know, you do good and you're going to get kicked in the teeth, whatever. You're going to, like Jesus, going to crucify. Do good anyway. We're not doing good to be patted on the back. We're not doing good for the applause of men. We're doing good because we're trying to be good. We're doing good because that's what God expects of us. Jesus obviously wasn't doing good to wear a crown, to be praised, because he wasn't getting that. He's getting thorns, getting nails, getting hate, getting disgust. You think about all the good he did for 3 years, and that's the 3 years we know about. You know, he didn't just suddenly become good at age 30. You know, the public ministry kicked in at 30, but the rest of it, he'd always been good. So for 33 years, he's never sinned. Can you imagine that? Never sinned the first time. Not one bad thought, bad word, bad deed. Never. At the end of his life on earth here, how many people that he had done so much good for were there to say, hey, we appreciate you. We're willing to die for you. That's a small list, which reminds us, right? He did not come here to do good in order to be loved, be appreciated, because he'd been disappointed. And that's why, you know, sometimes you work extra hard at work, and the boss doesn't notice it. You know, maybe the next day you make a little mistake, they'll notice that. You know, it's just kind of the nature of certain people. That was the life of Jesus, unappreciated. And so we have a great opportunity to right that wrong, don't we? To appreciate Christ, to appreciate others who are trying to walk in the footsteps of Christ. He healed them all. Now, again, this is coming up more than once, verse 16. Yet he warned them not to make him known, that it might be filled with spoken by Isaiah the prophet. You know, he didn't come to make headlines. He did not like attention, which tells me his Facebook posting would be different than some folks' Facebook posting. Hey, y'all, look at what good thing I did today. No. He never made himself the heroes of his stories, did he? Let's just kind of keep this to yourselves, this good that I'm doing. I just want y'all to be blessed, have a better life. I don't want the pats on the back. I'm okay with that, without that. Look at 22. I know that's the first bell, right? Y'all tricked me last week with a second silent bell. It's just one bell, Doug? Doug can't hear anything, but he can hear bells. That makes me a little aggravated, but I'm not going to even mention that. Did I say that? What are you thinking? All right, let me hit this, just kind of set the appetite for a great class next Sunday morning. Then one who was brought to him who was demon-possessed, blind, and mute. That's a list. That's a country song. I mean, that's a bad, we don't have problems. This man has problems. Everything that could go wrong with you is wrong with you, and you got Jesus, everything's going to get better. He's blind, he's mute, he got the demon in him, and he healed him. Jesus healed him. So the blind and the mute man both spoke and saw, and all the multitudes were amazed and said, could this be the Son of David? Duh. Of course he is. Of course he is. The prophesied Son of David will also be Son of God. You understand that? So here's the negative folks showing up again. Now, when the Pharisees heard it, all right, he's blind, he's deaf, he's got a demon, his life worst ever now becomes best ever. Why can't the Pharisees celebrate that? It's just something in them. That's the devil. Now, when the Pharisees heard it, they said, this fellow does not cast out demons except by the devil, the ruler of the demons. How insulting. How insulting. At least, and this is a dumb thing to say, at least they're not denying the miracles at this point. It cannot be denied this was a legitimate miracle, so now they've changed tactics. Okay, all right, we'll acknowledge he's doing some good for these people, but it's through the devil. How preposterous is that? Why? Why? It's just an argument of desperate, depraved men. And Jesus is going to get back to these questions. Doesn't get upset, just starts asking probing questions. All right? So I end with this. What are you thinking? Let it be something good. Your good thoughts will lead you to have good words, good decisions, a good day. I love you. Appreciate y'all for being here this morning. 5:30, can you come back? I know the Warrens, y'all going to get on the road this afternoon, aren't you? You going with our prayers and our love. You really do. We love y'all very much. We'll be praying. Y'all have a good afternoon. Thank y'all.